Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trep Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Jared Waters to the show. Jared is the CEO of Mini Materials. Mini Materials is a company that sells miniature masonry and woodwork supplies like cinder blocks, red bricks, pallets, lumber, and even molds to pour your own cinder blocks. And today I'm going to ask Jared a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talk, Jared. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So first of all, it's a very, very interesting business. I don't think I've come across any similar concept. I guess Legos is what I could compare this to what I've seen in the past. But we were just talking, and you shared a little bit like this. You were not the original founder of this business. You actually purchased this business last year. So, if possible, can you please give the viewers a little bit of a history and the story of the business and what really motivated you to buy this business?
Sure. Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting because the online community, Reddit, plays an integral role in both the founding of the business and me getting involved. So one of the original founders of the company saw something that he liked, and I believe he saw it on Reddit, but wasn't able to purchase it. It just wasn't for sale. So he went and created his own, and it actually ended up going viral on Reddit, hit the front page, and people were like, "I want to buy this. I want to buy this." And so lo and behold, he started a business, and he's definitely more of to my understanding, the creative side behind it. So he brought in a close friend to kind of run the business side of it, and together they formed Mini Materials. And so it was always kind of a side business for both of them. They had several people, including especially with founders, they often bring their family members and things in. So they had a bunch of part-time people focusing on it, and they grew it to a certain level. And I think they were just it was one of those things where they were looking to transition. They weren't quite ready to go full time with it, but they knew there was a lot of potential there. And ironically enough, I worked in the business valuation, financial publishing world before jumping into Mini Materials. So one day I was just looking around. I just followed various online groups, and I was on Reddit, and I saw a post that they were asking, which of these sites would be a good place to list their business. And I've been wanting to start my own business for quite a while. I have a family, so it's a little difficult to make that jump into a no-income true startup. So I started looking for businesses that might be a good fit for me and my skill set, and saw that post where they were looking for a place to potentially list their business, and reached out to them and said, "Hey, I saw that you're looking to maybe sell. I think you have a super cool company. I love your guys' products, branding." And that just started a conversation. So lo and behold, after a few months of back and forth and site visits, due diligence, I ended up purchasing the company in May of 2022. So just under a year as the date of recording this.
So that's really interesting. I mean, I definitely want to get into a little bit of your selection criteria of this business, and of course, I'm sure you did, as you said, you did your due diligence and you probably looked at financials and things like that. But before I go into that, I mean, I'm curious about the product itself. This kind of like a miniature masonry and these building materials kind of things. What is the appeal of these products, and who's actually buying these kind of products? Like, I'm assuming is this kind of like a kid play kind of a thing, or is this actually used in certain places?
Yeah, so it's actually for such a niche product. It actually has a lot of different applications. So one of our core group of users is people that are using it for miniature making. So people that make miniature doll houses, people that make dioramas, people that do you know, a lot of people are into, say, like action figures or RC cars, and the people that are really into those basically use this as an accessory. So I'm really into remote controlled cars. I'm going to build myself a garage. I'm really into action figures. I'm going to build a cool cement wall backdrop for it. So there's a lot of people that are actually creatives that are using this to build a world around whatever hobby that they have an interest in. So that's kind of a core group of users. And then secondary, it's actually just a big, I don't want to say novelty, but like just a unique gift. So we have another group of people that are probably only like one-time purchasers that just see it and go, that's just going to make my dad smile. I'm going to buy him one. They can sit on his desk. Husband works in construction, things like that. So there's a group of people like that. And then the third area is actually we do a lot of promotional work. So we take our miniature bricks and we have the in-house capability to print on them. So, you know, an engineering firm or a property development company or all sorts of businesses will actually come to us and say, hey, I love this. It's so much more unique than a business card. Please, you know, print me 1,000 of these and I'm going to give them out instead of just, you know, handing out a business card. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So your decision to, so you said that you had a full-time gig that you were doing, and you always had this idea of becoming an entrepreneur, I guess, but you didn't want to go through the whole process of starting your own business. I mean, that's actually a very interesting route because I don't usually come across entrepreneurs who think about just buying a business and getting into business that way. But I guess it makes sense. If you buy a business that's already profitable, it's like you are kind of avoiding all the painful years of number one, trying to validate an idea, number two, growing pains and all the sleepless nights and working 20 hours a day and everything like that. Can you share, I mean, but even if one goes or decides to go this way, like you have to have a certain interest in the business that you're buying, right? So when you looked at this idea, what really motivated you? Because I mean, if I look at it, of course, it looks like an interesting thing, and maybe it has good financials, but I don't, I don't know if I'll decide to buy it and start running this business because I wouldn't. Number one, I wouldn't really know the customer. I wouldn't know, I mean, I would have to spend some time before making a decision. But so can you share a little bit about what really motivated you and what kind of research and how did you already know about this niche?
Sure.
How did you get into this business?
Yeah, no, so it's a really fair question. And in my previous job, I was in the business valuation world, and I was kind of keeping an eye for businesses out there for sale. And the majority of businesses out there for sale are not growth-oriented business, they're more income-oriented business. So there's a lot of like, if you go on any business for sale site, you're going to see tons of restaurants, tons of dry cleaners, tons of bread and butter businesses that are, maybe a good investment, but they're not necessarily geared for growth. So it was actually really difficult to find a business that was something that I could both afford and still had a lot of growth potential. I literally had my kind of ear to the ground for years, kind of keeping an eye out for a type of business that would have the potential to grow beyond what like a brick and mortar location, which is what a lot of businesses are sold as. I don't have a background per se in miniature making, which is really what we're selling, but I do have a really strong background in being like a maker. So I've always really been super handy, and I've have a decent product design background. So in my previous job, I was designing a lot more digital products, but I've learned to do like computer aided drafting and different things like that. Just as part of my interests. So I was doing things like 3D printing and doing things that were directly applicable to the actual manufacturing and making of things before I got involved in it. So I think the combination of a business that's it was an online, mostly direct to consumer business that had the capacity for growth. And what it really needed is somebody who understood, how to make products and make physical products, and and that part of it, which I didn't have a lot of proven experience in, but a lot of background in, and so that's kind of what made it seem like a really good fit for me.
I want to dig a little bit deeper in your background around business valuation, and you mentioned two things. There's some businesses that are cash flow generating, but they're not necessarily going to grow year over year or have significant growth. But you somehow knew that this business had the potential for growth. Can you share a little bit about how you came to that conclusion? And I would also love to know, like, is it bad to buy a business just like you mentioned, like a coin operated laundry or something that's not going to grow significantly, but probably generates a monthly cash flow? What is the difference? What is the criteria? How do you know if it's worth it to buy a business?
Sure. And I think it's, the same process that you use to evaluate launching your own startup idea. I think the key question is scalability. Like, with a coin operated laundry, there is some potential to scale. I mean, you could invest your cash flow and open more locations and do things like that, but the scalability is fairly low. With this business, it was an online based business that could really be ran from anywhere. I actually moved the business from the East Coast to the West Coast, and there is a lot of kind of peripheral product lines that use the same manufacturing technology that can be done at scale. And so really looking at, we manufacture the majority of our own products, but we do it very quickly. And so even though we're doing very unique things and very, like tangible products, we're still doing it at a scale, a speed of scale, typical to what you'd see for like mass manufacturing. So we're able to, produce most products within a day. So if there's something that we wanted to make that we didn't have, we could turn around and make it in a day. And that's really not the same with, if there's an increased demand for washing your clothes, the ability to ramp that up, to whatever that demand is, it's much more difficult than it is with this business. So that was really appealing with the selection criteria. But I don't think the other route's necessarily a bad route to go, as far as like, oh, if I just want an investment and here's something that I can invest X dollars in and get a consistent return. I think that makes a lot of sense. It just depends on what your goals are as an entrepreneur.
So as someone who purchased this business, do you think that you did not have to, in terms of the hard work that goes into starting a business, like you had a business that's already running, all you had to do was come in and learn all the processes and make sure that you're doing the processes, and then I guess where your really your expertise or your ingenuity would come in is around the new customer acquisition and really the marketing aspect of it, right?
Yeah, and I would add the product development portion of it. That's really what we've focused on in this not quite year that we've owned it. It's just adding different types of products and more products as well. So there is definitely a lot less risk. I mean, you pay for that risk obviously when you purchase a business. I think a lot of the processes are kind of the same. I think it always feels like it should be easy just to kind of pick up a project or pick up a business, when someone leaves it off. But it is truly kind of a learning experience. But I think the biggest advantage to it is, I had sales on my very first day, which I think was a difficult hurdle for me, and kind of other ideas that I had before, where I'd be like, oh, this would be something that would be really interesting to pursue as a startup idea, but how long is it going to take to break even? And then it becomes a question of like, do you go out and get funding? Do you, try to bootstrap it and, and tell your family you're not going to buy anything for, 6 months. So it definitely makes it, it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely, I think a little bit more comfortable than starting from scratch for sure. But you do, obviously, you do pay for the growth that you're acquiring. So yeah.
Do you like, is one of the criteria that one should look for is, I mean, I know that, there's like sites or places where I think even Shopify has like a directory where people are trying to sell their
Yep.
e-commerce businesses and things like that. Like, are those good places to buy businesses? Like, let's say there's like two different businesses. Like one business, you look at their numbers and you're seeing that they are in a growth trajectory, right? So you are seeing that there is an year-over-year growth that's going on. I'm assuming that's a more safer business to buy, as opposed to a business that does have a significant revenue, but you see that there's some sort of a declining trend there. How do you? What was your? I mean, with this business, like, did you see that it was already growing, and so that was a good time to buy, or you knew that you could grow it?
So kind of just before I purchased this, I looked at a lot of those, and before really looking at the financials, I would say really take a look at what's driving those underlying financials, because you look at some things like a lot of things on Shopify are where they're doing like drop shipping sites where they purchase something and they don't even touch the product, and they'll have tremendous growth if they happen to have a product that's seeing a lot of growth, but they're often short-lived. They don't they don't have any competitive advantage, because the person that they're buying from can buy from somebody else. And once people start to see this market take off, it becomes saturated, margins get taken out. So I think it's very easy to get distracted by financials. When I actually purchased the company, the financials had somewhat plateaued in a healthy place, but I think that was more a reflection of where the founders were. They had grown to a certain point, and it was kind of like, okay, we either probably should pass the torch on this or maybe go on full time. And that's something that they had considered too, is just running mini materials as a full-time business rather than a side hustle. So yeah, it's really interesting. But before I looked at financials, I would think about what's driving those financials, and is it a secure, or is it a sustainable business plan, or is it not? So we're manufacturing a unique product. We have control of basically everything from A to Z. So while maybe there's more impressive financials out there, I think the underlying business concept was a little was what attracted me to purchasing materials. Yeah.
So when you purchased this business, did you go all in? Like you basically quit your job, or was there? I mean, I don't know if you're still working.
I did it basically. I quit like a. It's funny because my best friend thought I was crazy, because the job that I had was with a really good job with a really great company, and going from that to more uncertainty, maybe less money in the short term, like there was definitely a lot of things that some people wondered about, but it was a big financial investment for myself as well. So all those things coupled together definitely made it something where I'm all in on it for sure. Yeah.
But what was it? Was it the freedom that you were after? Like that, I'm sure, I mean, for an entrepreneur, ultimately it's about freedom, right? Having control of your own time and yourself. What was your driver for you?
Yeah. I mean, definitely freedom, but not all the time. I had a lot more free time and a lot more a lot. Yeah, I felt like in practical terms, I had a lot more freedom when I was, working like a 9 to 5.
Okay.
But I think the appealing part is the ability to take it as far as you can. I mean, realistically, if you're working for somebody else, there's only so much you can do, and so much you can make, and so much you can accomplish. And it's, you're being employed to do that, so you're doing it for somebody else. I like the fact that everything I'm doing, the kind of the struggles over the last year, and turning it around, and going, going in a better direction. That's going to be all on me, and the risk and reward is all for me. So I really like that direct connection between the things that I do and the success of the work I do. So yeah.
So as part of the purchase, like, did the business come with a team, or did the founders, was there some sort of a ramp up period where the founders worked with you for like a few months before they left completely?
Yeah. So there so it was a little oddly organized before, where they had a bunch of people doing a bunch of part-time things. So a lot of that I was able to consolidate just to a position under me. And then we have production help, and then we also use some independent contractors. So that's kind of the nice thing about the business as well, is that it is designed to be pretty employee light. And like a lot of the interesting things we do, for example, we just put together a large order for these construction, basically a mini house kit for a construction school, where they go and they do outreach, and they take these kits into schools, and the kids build them. And they're really detailed parts, but we use like laser cutters to do that. So it's, you basically, throw something into a machine, press a button, and the machine does all the work for you. So while we do a lot of really cool, interesting things and a lot of detailed things, it's not super hands-on production for a lot of it. We use as much technology as we can, and that's part of the reason that we have a lot of scalability as a manufacturing business. So
Awesome. I think this business definitely fits a lot of the best traits of a successful e-commerce business. I mean, it's a niche. It's, the items are small, they're not heavy, and apparently there's a demand for it out there. So yeah, I
yeah.
mean, definitely a great business to acquire. In terms of competition, I mean, are there other businesses that do similar kind of things, or do you have like a direct competitor, or is this kind of like you're in a place of your own, and maybe other businesses there are, miniature kind of products out there, but they're not directly competing with your kind of products?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things. I mean, there's some people out there that are copycatting exactly what we're doing. I mean, we even sell the molds. So if you wanted to go start a like a little miniature brick company, you could do that. You can buy a mold from us and start making them and start selling them online. We're not really worried about people that are trying to replicate what we're doing. We're doing it at, I think, a scale that's good enough that we're able to compete pretty well with people that are trying to do exactly what we're doing. Kind of the more interesting, like there's a lot of bigger dollhouse, like people are making dollhouse and other miniatures. And I think unless you know somebody that does it, you don't realize how many people are actually out there doing it. But it's a fairly large community. The thing that I'm running into is that a lot of the people out there that are running these businesses are using really old technology, and they're all sourcing their materials from the same 3 or 4 wholesalers. So even though there's hundreds of websites out there selling miniatures, they're all kind of selling the same thing, and it's all fairly low quality imports that don't really fit. So you have kind of this mass produced items, which is what a lot of websites are out there doing, that I feel like we compete really well against the quality that we're doing things with. And then there's 50 sites, but they're selling the same item, and we're one site that's selling something completely not something completely different. For example, like we just did some winter items, so we did a little sled. So we made a custom 3D printed plastic sled. It looks much more realistic to what you see if your kids are out playing with a sled. It looks like that compared to what people are importing. It's very price competitive. We have a good margin on it, and it makes us unique. So even within the world out there of people that have been doing this for a long time, they're kind of they all have the same flavor. So we really like to stand out with different items than what's out there. So.
Okay. In terms of channels, I mean, you mentioned that there's like definitely, I mean, a niche, and there's a big community on Reddit and things like that. How do you go about if someone who's interested in this kind of product, would they go and search for miniature items on Google, or is it that you want to be part of all the communities that are online that are interested in this kind of materials, and be there as part of the discussion, and and that gets people that brings people to your business. I mean, what have you done since you've acquired the business to really drive new customer acquisition?
Yeah, so sadly, you have to kind of be everywhere. Instagram is probably our biggest single channel of new customers. We actually have a pretty solid rate of returning customers. So once we acquire a customer, then we send out email marketing that does really well. So kind of the goal of mostly Instagram, but other channels as well, is to drive people to the site, get them to opt into our email list, and then once they're on the email list, it sustains pretty well. So that's kind of our big picture marketing strategy, those channels.
And are you the main marketer now, or was there a team member who was already in charge of that, and you're kind of like working with them, giving them direction, or?
Yeah, so kind of interesting. So the one of the founders did a lot of graphic design and created a lot of. Like, I feel one of the things that I really liked about the company is they had a really strong brand and a really clean brand, and something that felt modern to me. So we retained all that and just continued to kind of use that styling there. Marketing has definitely been something that I used to be slightly involved in my previous job, and I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Now that I'm doing it full time, I really don't like it as much. It's so much work, and so much more intensive than you think it should be. So I was doing it for myself for a while, and I was doing okay, but I thought I could do better. I hired an outside company that did slightly less well than what I did as far as the metrics. So I've discontinued that relationship, and I'm currently running it on my own. It's something I think that can be done better than I'm doing it. I just I'm looking kind of for the right fit for a company, or potentially like a part-time employee to really take that to the next level. So we're solid, but that's definitely an area where I want to improve in the next 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that feedback again and again. Like working with like an external agency, it's like it helps, but because they don't have the same kind of passion or same kind of commitment as the founder would have, it's like the results are usually either disappointing, or they're not as good as what you would do yourself. So yeah, very, very interesting insight there. In terms of fulfillment, I'm assuming because these are smaller items, do you have so you mentioned like you have kind of a production facility, and I'm assuming it doesn't really require a huge space.
Yeah,
How do you do you create batches, as like you don't have to create a large batch, because you can create if it's easy to create, then you can create based on demand and when the order comes in, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a mix of items. I mean, we definitely have a lot of inventory because we'll get these larger orders out of the blue that we want to be able to fill fairly quickly. And certain projects, we just actually finished a large pallet today that's being shipped internationally. So It kind of depends a little bit, but we use, you know, Shopify, and then like an out of the box shipping component. It's actually one of the things I really like about the business is that it uses really standard and software. In other jobs I've worked at, you know, you have these really like unique, odd legacy programs that you know, nobody really knows how they run, and you know, if they break, nobody can fix them. Everything we use, we you know, just use out of the box
Hmm.
software to do what we do, and just keep everything super simple, and it works really well for them.
Okay. And in terms of shipping, um, are you shipping like within the US only? Are you shipping like do you have international orders also?
Yeah, we do.
What are your biggest markets?
The U.S. is by far our biggest market, and then Canada is second, and then uh, uh, you know, onwards from there. We do a fair amount, like all, international shipping is always a really hard hurdle to overcome, just because you can double the price of your product fairly easily.
Hmm.
But, uh, yeah, I think we shipped to, in 2022. Shippo sent me a report. I think it was like 85 countries. So, you know, a lot of those were maybe just like one shipment to one person, but yeah, we ship all over the world. Uh, so
Are you
yeah.
on Amazon? Or
We are on Amazon. We are on Etsy. So those are probably our two biggest second online channels.
so when you think about like international expansion, like do you ever think, I mean, I'm assuming that the easiest way to expand internationally is through a marketplace, right? So you just list on, for example, let's say UK Amazon or something, or European Amazon version of the Amazon, and maybe ship your items to Amazon directly, and they can fulfill in that market. Like, is it like, do you ever think about that kind of a thing, or is it have you already tried it and experienced challenges?
It definitely is something that's kind of on the radar. We are doing so. There's so much kind of uh, things that, you know, that to develop with our domestic core business, that uh, that hasn't gotten on the list to like be the next thing yet. We're serving people okay through you know, the international shipping options that we have. That, you know, so it's kind of like a stopgap, but that's something that would definitely be you know, on the radar, hopefully for the next 18 months or something like that. So yeah.
Cool. Um, I want to talk a little bit. I don't know if you're looking into the newer, technologies like the AI and Chat GPT and some of these new things that are coming in. I'm
Yeah.
really curious, I think these technologies are going to disrupt, e-commerce, marketing, a lot of different things. And and I also think that it's not going to be like a big ramp up. I think it's going to happen quick, and everything will start getting disrupted pretty quickly. How have you played with Chat GPT? Have you thought about it, like how to use in your business, or what are your thoughts on this? And are you using it for? Have you already started using it for something?
We are not using it in much yet. We played around with GDP a little bit with just like content and things like that. Uh, I enjoy you know, like writing product descriptions. I enjoy that, so it's not something I'm looking to outsource yet. We did actually a really successful Instagram post where we built a concrete wall and then type some prompts into an AI search, not Midjourney, but one of them out there, to generate some art. And then we printed the art on the stone walls. We have this really cool graffiti art that made an Instagram post that people really liked. They thought it was really interesting to use AI to paint a miniature. So we've done some fun things like that. We have some interesting ideas about maybe ways to work like image generation into some production ideas. So that's always interesting. So yeah, no, it's something that we're very technology. We actually have another aspect where we might use where we're playing around with AI. So one of the employees is just very tech savvy. And one of the most monotonous parts of the production at this point is actually like packaging the materials. So our most popular product is 24 bricks on a miniature pallet. And they have to be hand placed onto a pallet. It's just kind of tedious. So he is working with just off the shelf robotics to make an arm that uses AI to identify bricks and place them on a pallet. And so, it's not something we're using, but it's something that's kind of cool to see the robot arm get a little bit better each week, and hopefully that will take like the monotonous job of packaging all those pallets out every day to a robot. That'd be pretty cool.
Wow, that's really interesting. What is your future vision for the business? Like, are you, given that you bought this business, like, is your goal to grow this business to a certain extent and then resell it, or is this something that you want to continue doing it? Like, what is your goal with your business? Is it like cash flow generation? Is it really just to uh, practice being an entrepreneur? Is it to, uh,
Yeah.
to sell it and then buy another business?
Yeah. I'm still pretty distant on an exit plan at this point, just being a year into it. So just kind of in the next 5 years, I'm just looking to ramp things up as much as possible. And there's a lot of peripheral businesses, like for example, um, we do a little skate line for like fingerboarding. It's like another really weird niche thing that has a huge online following out there. And
Wow.
so I think there's maybe 5 or 6 businesses I have in my mind right now that will use the manufacturing expertise resources that we already have to kind of split into other forms of revenue. And I don't know if maybe sell some down the road or just keep on growing it, keeping cash flow positive. Um, there's a lot of options, and that's what I really love about the growth of this, is that we have a really cool base. We're doing something interesting, and there's a lot of opportunities to basically be an entrepreneur again and again and again uh, with this platform that we have. So yeah, that's what I find exciting. So once I start getting bored, if I ever do, then maybe I'll start looking for an exit. But at this point, it's just let's keep having fun. So
It would be interesting to ask ChatGPT about all the different niches that people are into, because I would have never thought there's something called what do you call finger skateboard?
yeah, figure
Fingerboarding?
skateboarding. Yeah, no, and it has a huge online community out there that people like do tricks, and it's like yeah, and you would think that there's so many companies out there that are just dedicated to making fingerboards like items that you're like, wow, that's like I didn't know that this community can support 30 companies, and yet they do. So yeah.
Wow. Where do you go to find these kind of communities? Is like Reddit the main place, or how do you come across these kind of niche
Yes.
communities?
Reddit, Instagram, like all the places. There's not one place, and it's always in the places that you'll least expect it. So, when I see something that's really cool, I just like start kind of diving into it and see if it would make sense for us. So, yeah.
Awesome. In every entrepreneur journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. I mean, since you've acquired this business, what has been your biggest challenge or failure or thing, a decision
Yeah.
that you made that kind of ended up not as you would have wanted? What did you learn from it? What can other entrepreneurs learn from your mistakes?
Yeah, I think the marketing aspect of the company is something that I keep coming back to, especially when I was first starting the business. I was so focused on getting the manufacturing processes squared away, and I didn't I didn't ignore that, but I definitely didn't give it the attention that it needed. And marketing's accumulative, it compounds upon itself. The more people that you have, the more things, the more people that you have watching what you're doing, the more people that will get shared with, the more people that will then come watch it, and so you really can't stop marketing ever. And I think that's that was one of the biggest surprises to me, is just how much there is to do for it. And I wish really at the beginning that I would have even before the purchase of it had a better and stronger marketing plan, because a lot of the success is kind of just organic, and I think a little bit of direction will really supercharge the sales of the company. So yeah.
Awesome. So now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment, and in this segment I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them maybe in a word or two or a sentence.
Sure.
So the first one is one book recommendation for entrepreneurs, and why?
So the book is actually kind of maybe out of left field here. It's called How to License a $1 Million Idea, and it has the most spammy title there is. But what I really liked about it is it really opened my eyes about a whole, like, I get all these ideas all the time, as I'm sure many entrepreneurs do, and you want to pursue everything, and you sometimes get a really good idea that you're like, man, I would love to, this is a good idea. I don't necessarily want to start a business around it, but I don't want to just, live in I use Evernote. So I don't want to just live in my, my files. And the idea of licensing a product out to an idea out to another company. So there's one thing I have that's in the RV industry. So nothing that Mini Materials does, that I've reached out and had a conversation about licensing it to an RV manufacturer. And I think it's just a really cool way to scratch that itch of, I have a cool idea, but I don't want to build a company around this one idea. It's either too small, or it will be too much work for too little return, or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, that's I've definitely heard about that book, and it's such an interesting idea. And some people are great at licensing ideas, and they're making like it's kind of a passive income coming in, right?
It's definitely I've yet to get there, but it definitely gives me a alternative way to think about things. So yeah.
An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
So I don't really think it's too innovative at this point, but what I'm really interested in is doing some more drop shipping, and there's lots of companies out there that offer drop shipping as a service, but I'm not aware of any software companies out there that are like setting up, making it easy for you to drop ship to other people. Kind of the reverse side of that. So there's I have a lot of people that are interested in some of my products, but they're very small and they don't want to carry $1,000 worth of inventory. So it'd be great to have an easy way to drop ship to them. So that's something I'm kind of looking into, as far as like, where's a good opportunity for there's a Shopify app for everything, but I didn't see one out there to offer drop shipping to people, only to get drop shipping from other people. So yeah.
So basically, you want other people to be able to drop ship your items, and you're going to fulfill it, or?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. I thought there used to be, there used to be platforms that helped with that. So I'm pretty sure there are solutions out there, but I'm not sure if they still exist or what's going on with them.
Yeah, no, most of the solutions that I've come upon were like, if you're looking for products to drop ship, here are the services for that. But it's something that I haven't dived as deep into. So, but that's something where I think there's opportunities is drop shipping for smaller companies. So yeah.
One of the things that I also think is maybe drop shipping has kind of got a bad rap now, I think, as a business model in general.
I do, yeah.
But so I think maybe that could be part of the reason that
yeah.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or productivity tool?
Yeah. I mean, the one I use the most, besides like Shopify, which I don't think really counts, but the one I use most, that I find most personally useful, is probably just Evernote. I just have tons of ideas, and being able to quickly kind of just like gather them. I have just way too many in there, but yeah, that's my favorite little productivity tool.
Awesome. A startup or business in e-commerce, retail, or tech that you think is currently doing great?
So it's funny because I cannot remember the name of this, but there's they have a big YouTube following, and they're on Etsy. One of the things they do is mass customization. So they actually sell like dog collars, and they'll get them customized for whoever, for the name of your dog or and things like that. But they do customization at scale, and we do a little bit of that. We do like custom signs and different things like that. But I really like the idea of being able to offer custom products quickly and scalably to people. So that's something I'm focused on. Yeah.
I'll share a business. Actually, I interviewed a business on my podcast a few months ago, and they are customizing these rings. So the person or the owner, a dog owner, would wear the ring themselves, but they would, I guess they would tell the name of the dog, and the company would engrave the name, and they
Oh,
would
very cool.
send
Yeah.
it out. And I think they were making like 10 million plus on doing
Yeah.
that. And so I think with this the pet industry and customization, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Um, a peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you.
Um, trying to think of because I think most of the people that have actually been are people that I've worked with. So I'm trying to think of somebody out there that would be known by others. But um, I think um, like even my old boss was a very inspirational woman. She, you know, really taught me the sense of urgency in getting things done. It's so easy to let things take 3 days when they could take one.
Hmm.
So I thought about that a little bit, and I really, yeah. So nobody that anybody would probably know, but yeah, I think the most impactful ones have been people that just gave me like small lessons personally. So yeah.
Okay. Final question. Best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
That sales solve everything. I think, yeah, there's very few things that if you have good sales, anything else can be fixed. So, as an entrepreneur, that should really be, so many ideas and so many things I have thought of in the past. Without money behind them, they have all these other problems. So I think focus on sales, and then every other problem can just be fixed with time, effort, and money. So yeah.
Definitely, there's no business without sales, I guess.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's definitely the most important part of business. Well, Jared, pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much again for your time this evening and sharing your story, very unique, interesting story, and your future vision for your business. So really appreciate it. If anybody wants to purchase your products or check it out, what is the best way they can do that?
Yeah, minimaterials.com is our website, and then follow us on Instagram at minimaterials. Those are probably the two most active places to see what is new with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Jared. Really appreciate it, and yeah, wish you all the best with your business.
Yeah.